I immediately called Jake, but he didn't answer. So I messaged him that I'll get the police involved if he doesn't return the ring. Using it to propose won't stop me from taking it back. Welcome back to They Did What? Your source for the internet's craziest, most entertaining stories, where I go over them, analyze them, and most certainly make fun of them. Today, going to go over a story titled, My Son Stole His Dead Mother's Ring for His Girlfriend, and Now He Won't Talk to Me After Making Him Return It. And a big shout out to Daniel for sending me the story. And guys, what we have here is quite the entertaining story about family dynamics and, of course, wacko girls. This is a story about a guy who ended up kicking his son out and really laying down the law with him in the right way after his son stole a wedding ring that it was his mother's ring, she had died, to give to his gold-digging girlfriend. And you're going to see here in the story, guys, we have two major a-holes in this story. Number one, the son, who is your poster child for the spoiled, entitled a-hole kids of this generation. He's 23 years old. And his girlfriend, a complete gold-digging nut job. And you're going to see all this, how this plays out, because essentially the mother passed away. The ring and her jewelry was left to the sister. This guy got in his head that he wanted to propose to his girlfriend of 8 months and wanted that ring. And what he does to get this ring without permission, it's a mess. And the father, of course, lays down the law as every father should. And this whole drama fest going on here about family dynamics and all that. Now, this is, as you're going to see, this is part one of a 3-part series. However, I'm doing all 3 parts today, so you guys will know the whole story before you go to bed tonight. However, I can't do it all in one video because it's just way too much. But it's a very entertaining one here about all that. And I talk about all the time, mainly on my other channel, is that you can't tolerate disrespect in life, guys. And even with family. In fact, family can bring you the most drama and disrespect. And you have to reach a point that you draw a line with people. And if they cross that line, your boundaries, disrespect for you, you have to be willing to walk away and cut people off. Even your own family, even your own kids if it comes to that. Especially when your kids are grown-ass adults and should know better. But I'll get more into that as I go through the story here. So it's definitely a good one. It says here, to say that I was mad as hell would be an understatement. I, a 46-year-old male, have a son, Jake, a 23-year-old male, and that's a fake name. Jake was a good kid growing up. So him doing this was a complete shock to me. I also have a daughter, Amber, 16-year-old female, also a fake name. When my wife passed away from COVID nearly 2 years ago, she already had a will in place. She was immunocompromised due to a prior condition that she was diagnosed with a decade before she passed. And she made sure that she had a will set aside just in case anything happened to her. And in said will, she divided her assets between our kids. And Jake got his cut as he was already 21 years old. He used that money to put a down payment on a condo, and he got his mother's car. But the will stated that my daughter would get all my wife's jewelry. I think that's a little too young to give a 21-year-old enough money to put a down payment, that much money, 21 years old, and not to mention, you're going to see here the way this kid acts, not a good idea. Remember, people in their 20s nowadays, kids in their 20s, do not have the same maturity level as they did decades ago when I was that age, and you guys were that age as well. So you have to be very careful in giving young people money because they don't have the responsibility for that, and it can make them even more entitled, and you get the point. That included a vintage gold ring with a diamond that had a light blue sapphire on each side of it. That ring had been passed down for generations in my wife's family. It was originally her grandmother's wedding band. Her husband was a jeweler and handcrafted the ring for her himself. And it was passed down to my wife's mother when her grandmother died. And then to my wife herself when her mother passed. And along with the other jewelry was all to go to my daughter. So this ring is very important to the family. Not something to mess around with. And you'll see more when I talk about it in a minute. When my wife passed away, my grief was intense. But I powered through it for the sake of my family. And they supported me 100%. So the betrayal from my son was just a rusty knife in the back of me. For the past 8 months, Jake had been dating Sarah. She had my son wrapped around her finger. And she loves jewelry as she adorns herself with it a lot. My son mentioned the family jewels my wife left his sister to Sarah one day, and Sarah really wanted to see them. Well, of course she did. Young gold digger like that. So Jake went into my room when no one was home and showed them to her. He later admitted to me that he'd done this and I was angry. But I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Jake came to me a week ago and begged for the ring from his mother's family jewels so that he could propose with it. A gal that he's known for 8 months, who this guy clearly knows is trouble. Remember about trusting your gut, guys. And the son wants to give this girl the family heirloom that is generation to generation, which is give it to her sister, to his sister. I don't think so. The mother wanted the sister to have it, not some floozy that her son is going to get because he's got some resources. Jake wanted it, blah, blah, blah. He said Sarah had fallen in love with the ring when she saw it before, and he just knew it would be the perfect ring to ask her to marry with him. He seemed completely convinced I'd be jumping for joy for him wanting to propose. But instead, I told him that I was not the one to ask, as the ring belongs to Amber, and I wouldn't have him pressuring her to give it up either. For a fair chance, I'd allow him to explain his reasons and ask her for it once. But only once, without pressuring her, and if she refuses for any reason, that will be the end of it. Jake agreed and asked Amber for the ring right in front of me, but she told him no because she wanted to keep it in the family jewels, and she has always loved that ring. To her, it is priceless. She couldn't bear to ever give it up. I told Jake that was that, and not to pressure her, and not press the matter any further. Okay. He gave his son a chance, and the sister said no way. And I don't blame the sister at all, because that was her mom's ring, and her mom is gone and has all the whole family history behind it. I think that's pretty cool, the ring story. Unfortunately, this spoiled, entitled a-hole son doesn't stop there. Jake left looking very unhappy about not getting the ring, but I thought he'd let it go and look into finding a similar one. But he came back another day while I was at work to talk to his sister after she got home from school. He and Amber got into a huge fight about the ring, and Amber called me crying. I called Jake and told him to get out of my house and leave his sister alone. Jake yelled at me that he should have just as much right to the ring as his sister, because my wife was his mother too. Hey, dipshit, your mother specifically wanted the daughter, your sister, to have this ring, not you. And gee, wonder why. And by the way, you got money, which you used the down payment on the condo. You got the car. So, but welcome to today's spoiled, entitled a-hole generation. Now, I'm not saying everybody's like that, but a lot are. Now, I think the couch side shrink in me thinks that this guy actually wanted to replace his mom. He wanted that ring so he could put on that girl. He can, kind of have a memory of his mom, something like that. But that's just me. But I reminded him that he got a lot of his mother's money and her car. The jewelry is Amber's and only hers. He hung up on me, and Amber soon texted me that he left very angry. Spoiled brat. Later, right before I left work, my daughter called me again and told me that Jake came back. He walked in, dressed in a suit, went into my room and took something, then left without saying anything to Amber. She tried to keep him from leaving, but he shoved her out of the way. He laid hands on his 16-year-old sister. Oh, this kid has it coming. And why do you think he's in a suit? Take a wild guess. Probably take that ring and go propose while he has the chance. I rushed home as soon as my shift was over and checked my wife's jewelry box. The ring was gone. I immediately called Jake, but he didn't answer. So I messaged him that I'll get the police involved if he doesn't return the ring. Using it to propose won't stop me from taking it back. That finally made him talk to me, and he tried to say that I couldn't do that because he's my son. I said I can and I will because he's outright stole the ring. You're damn right. And not to mention the fact that you're shoving your sister and all that. I mean, what a little asshole. And I don't want to hear he's messed up because his mom died and everything like that. Yes, that can mess anybody up, but you know what? This doesn't excuse his behavior. He's a grown-ass freaking adult. Guess what? Plenty of people's parents die, and you move on. You don't pull this shit, and we're just getting started, guys. And he better bring it back right away, or I would take drastic measures. Well, he phoned me right after that, and in a whisper he said that it was too late. He'd taken his girlfriend out to dinner and proposed to her with the ring. He hadn't had it for more than an hour by this point, yet the ring was already on her finger. I said that was his problem. He stole the ring, he could bring it back. It's not his, and I will do whatever it takes to make sure it is returned. Good job, Dad. See, it was all planned out. Wore the suit, stole the ring, proposed to her, thinking that he would never have him take it back if he already proposed to the girl and all that. But here's the problem. Now she thinks it's her ring. Imagine this in like Judge Judy. This situation on Judge Judy or something like that. And if that means going to the police and blowing the whole situation up, then so be it. I'll file a police report. I'll even get a lawyer. Jake started crying and saying I couldn't do this to him. I told him tough luck. He stole both from his sister and his dead mother. I would not back down until that ring was returned. Good for this guy. This kid is a little a-hole and deserves this. And listen to him. He starts crying. What a little bitch. Jake wouldn't stop crying and making excuses. Dad needs to slap some sense into him. I can do it, but Dad really needs to slap some sense into him. So I told him to have the ring back by morning, or I'd be moving forward with legal action. Jake is my son, but he still broke the law, and I couldn't overlook what he did. He said he'd be by in the morning to talk, and ended the call while crying even more. Smack! And I should have smacked him more earlier. You know, yes, I like to know how this kid was raised. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, the reason so many of the kids in this generation are the way they are is because of how they were raised. But the thing is, the parents can raise them well, but because all the other kids behave a certain way, it impacts them anyway. A little crying crybaby. Well, Jake did show up in the morning and brought his girlfriend with him to try and guilt us. Oh, great. What a manipulative little shit. Turns out she not only knew he stole the ring, but she wanted to keep it anyway, because she was completely in love with the ring since she first laid eyes on it. I told her I didn't care. She could have a jeweler make a copy of it or something, but the original doesn't belong to her. It belongs to my daughter and deceased wife. Jake begged me once again, one more time, not to make him give it back. But I and my daughter stood firm. Return the ring or face police and maybe even a potential lawsuit. Jake's girlfriend pulled off the ring on her finger and dropped it in my daughter's hands, calling me an evil bastard, and then left my house in tears. Oh, this could be his future daughter-in-law. This is wonderful. This guy's wife, deceased wife, is turning in her grave. This is how this kid is going to honor the memory of his mother. Little fucker. Jake started screaming at me that I may have just destroyed his relationship. Well, that's a good thing. I retorted him that he did this to himself, to his own relationship, by stealing a ring that didn't belong to him. What kind of son steals from his own sister and dead mother? This is beyond terrible. Jake had nothing more to say to me and walked out to follow after his girlfriend. Good riddance, you little shithead. I didn't get anyone else involved in the situation, but Jake did. He tried getting support from friends and family, but he got the exact opposite reaction that he'd hoped for. They were all mad at him over what he'd done. I got many phone calls and messages from people offering me condolences and saying they were not on Jake's side. I tried to do damage control, but now everybody knows. It's been a week now and Jake refused to speak to me. I sent him detailed pictures of the ring just in case he wanted Jill to replicate it. But making a copy would be very expensive unless he used fake stones. And thus far, there's been no response. I don't know what the situation is with his girl, if she even still his girlfriend after what happened, but I still stand by the fact that Jake had to return the ring. I have since had all my wife's jewelry placed in a safe deposit box that only I have access to. Very smart. And the jewelry will remain there until my daughter is 21. It may even stay there if she wants to keep it safe that way. I know I'm in the right to have reclaimed the ring. However, I don't want my son to hate me, and I don't want the family to hate him. If anyone has any advice on how to better mediate the situation without giving away the ring or spending a lot of money, I'm all ears. Well, I'll add my 3 cents here, because I never give just 2 cents, I give 3. What this guy did, he handled it just right. That son is a little asshole, deserves what he gets, and I'm behind him 100%. But what I'm not 100% behind is him reaching out to the son. Okay? He's 23 years old. He's a grown-ass man. He doesn't behave like a grown-ass man, but he's a grown-ass man in terms of the eyes of the law. And at this point, if I'm the father, I would not reach out to him at all. Because if the father reaches out to the kid, that shows the kid whether he realizes it or not, that kid has some power. Because the dad obviously loves his son, and that's fine. What the dad needs to do is keep quiet and wait till the son reaches out to him. Because then the father will have the leverage. If he's chasing after the kid, then that gives the kid the power, okay? And let the kid know through his actions that obviously dad wants a relationship with him, and that kid may pull more BS. The dad needs to completely walk away, and that means he doesn't talk to the son for a month or 6 months or a year or 6 years, so be it. Because by him chasing after him, it's only going to make things worse. Make the kid more entitled. The kid needs to come back to him and apologize to him, apologize to the sister, and do it in a way that they both know that he's serious. He's not just saying that, to make him happy. And he has every right. And that kid, remember, went to the family trying to get them on his side, and they're now obviously seeing him as a little shithead. And so he dug his own grave. So it's 100% the kid's fault here. And the dad handled it right. But again, this generation. But, even if the dad and the mother raised him right, because he said he was a good kid before, you could have all the other kids in this generation, not all, but a lot, influencing him, and hence the spoiled, entitled attitude and taking no accountability for the actions there. This is why the parents got to set a good example, and this is why we're in the mess we are. Now, a few comments here, and then I will go into part 2 in the next video. One guy says here, geez, man, that girl of his a little manipulative rat. Jake is a man now, and he needs to take responsibility for his actions, that of which seems completely deranged. You did nothing wrong, and it's up to him to make sure his family likes him. Correct. He has to make the next step, not you. Has to be that way. Another guy says here, your son is currently not a good person. I would let him stay mad till he sees signs him truly reopening. Don't coddle him. He needs to figure this out himself, that what he did was wrong. Stay focused on your daughter until your son comes back to make amends. Correct. Until he realizes this, not going to happen. And unfortunately, he's easily susceptible to manipulation from that girl. But at the end of the day, the father can only do so much. And he may run out and marry her anyway. Well, you know what? There's nothing the father can do. But not like that's going to last. Now the guy says here, this is long, but this is good. This guy says, there is no way to mediate this situation. And if you do, you might lose the respect of your daughter. Or you're going to teach her horrible morals, and you at least want one of your two to turn out a decent life, aka not a thief dating another thief. I would have called the cops too and let them handle it, not stress about it with the daughter, and reiterate time and time again that what he did was horribly wrong. And once they both apologize for their actions, you open dialogue. I would have waited until they were at least 25 years old to give them this money, jewelry, etc. Everything but the car at least. He seems spoiled, entitled, and just a nasty piece of work, especially after physically laying hands on your daughter. That's what I said. He shouldn't have gotten that money at 21 given his lack of maturity. If you're a good man and a good father, you won't hate him, you'll teach him. He was physically abusive with your daughter when he was stealing the jewelry. This is technically an aggravated burglary or robbery. He took something that wasn't his, got caught, and was told not to leave, and physically put his hands on someone to make an escape. There's a reason he's this entitled and that he paired up with such a piece of work. Focus on your daughter. She seems like your last hope. Yes. If they ever ask for money, have a kid, etc., and all of a sudden are sugar and sweet, ignore the F out of it. Pretty sure your wife would have been absolutely disgusted, would 100% support your daughter, and see this the same way as I'm seeing it. If the family hates him and the girl, they have reason to. A very good reason if you tried to argue against it, if you're undermining your daughter. He physically assaulted her and stole a priceless piece of jewelry. I have a plastic crappy ring my great-grandma kept from when she was a kid. It's a total piece of crap. It's worth absolutely nothing, and it's even worthy of being in a landfill. When my air fryer caught my entire kitchen on fire, I grabbed my kid, cats, and the stupid freaking ring. He needs to understand he disrespected the dead too. That was very well written by that guy there. So there you go, guys. Now I'll be doing part 2 a little bit later today. You can see how this goes on because this is just getting started with the drama with both the son and the crazy girl. You just got a glimpse of her crazy because her whole crazy is coming out to a whole new level here. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below what you think about this. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.